Okay, the time is now 7:30. Village of Northfield regular council meeting of June 26, 2019. So our rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Niehaus.
Here.
Mr. Magistrelli.
Here.
Mr. Scher.
Here.
Ms. Domzalski. Here. Mr. Hips is absent. Ms. Noack. Here. Mr. Wojciech.
Here.
Mr. Bryan.
Here.
Mr. Wasowski, Chief Solgus are absent. Chief Buss.
Here.
Mr. Walters.
Here.
And I'm present.
Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Domzalski, seconded by Mr. Magistrelli for approval of the minutes of the June 12th, 2019 regular council meeting. Any amendments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approval?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved, 4 yes votes with Ms. Noack abstaining.
At this time, is there anyone in the audience that has anything for us tonight? If so, please come to the podium, sign in, and remember everyone's limited to 5 minutes. Hearing none, moving on. The reports of the municipal officers, the mayor at this time does not have a report. Moving on to the finance director, Ms. Ingracia.
I handed out to everyone this evening the April and May reconciliations. I'm requesting a motion for acknowledgement of receipt for both the months of April and May 2019 cash reconciliation, and
I'll make that motion.
thank you.
None of us here, can I speak?
Yeah.
None of us here can hear, can you guys?
Yes, if you'll just wait a second, we need to take care of this piece of business and then,
Are we not supposed to hear any of this?
okay.
We
What-
wanna know, aren't we supposed to hear about this, what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
We can't hear, could you mind speaking up?
Yes, we will be happy to do that. There was a motion on the floor to acknowledge acceptance of the financial reports for the month of May
In April.
and April and May 2019. So it's to acknowledge the council received the financial information.
I did. I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay. Motion made by
second.
Mr. Wojciech, seconded by Ms. Domzalski. Any questions regarding the reports? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approval?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, motion is adopted.
Okay, the second item that I have is we have the payment due for the Northfield Macedonia Cemetery in the amount of $10,289.96. It has to be approved by motion of council because of the amount. It's over the mayor's spending authority, so may I have that motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Noack, seconded by Mr. Magistrelli. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approval?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, motion is adopted.
Okay, and then finally, on the agenda this evening is the liability insurance renewal. Just so that you guys are aware, there was a packet in everybody's box. There is a 2.6% increase in overall property values, so that did drive up the premium a little bit. We had an addition of 4 new vehicles, and we had an addition of some of our fire and rescue equipment per Chief Buss's request. Also, our employee count went from 73 to 79. That's full and part-time. And so the total premium for the year, if I can find it.
$37,152.
Right. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on. Mr. Wasowski, the engineer, is not present. He will be at our next regular scheduled council meeting. Moving on to Mr. Bryan, the law director.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I have the Mayor's Court monthly dispersal report for May 2019 for acceptance. Total to be dispersed, $12,033.34. Total due to the state, $1,329.50. Total due to the Stowe Municipal Court, $25. Total due to the City of Stowe, $40.50. Total dispersed for restitution, $100. Total due to the village, $10,538.34. Is there a motion for acceptance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Voitish. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay. And next is, in the budget for this year, is a project to repair the Village Hall south wall that is having some issues, and the expected cost is somewhere less than $100,000, so it's above the bidding amount, so we need to put that project out for bid. So I'm just requesting a motion to put that project out for bid and prepare the bid specifications.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Voitish, seconded by Mr. Magistrelli. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, the motion's approved. And last, there is some additional work to Village Hall for caps to the roof. The best bid we received was from West Roofing for $12,500. So ask for a motion to authorize that repair.
What is the cap to the roof?
Jason, would you like to explain that, please?
The sandstone surrounding the perimeter of the building there's gaps, so you cap it so the water can't get in between the veneer, the brick veneer and the block. Part of what caused the problem we're going to fix on the outside wall of the garage. The structural engineer that we had here said that was one of the first things we want to do is get that capped. So we're going to start there and then we'll fix the wall. It's just like no, the cover. It's the aluminum. You know, it's just and it's formed right over that and capped, so water cannot get in between. Yes, sir.
Okay, anybody else? All right, all in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, moving on to the department heads. Police Chief John Zolgis is not present. He'll be at our next regular scheduled council meeting. Fire Chief Jason Buss.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. A couple things I have. First is we did get all of our bids back for the architects we were looking at for the fire station. There was 3 we met with. It was me, the Mayor, Brad, and the engineer, Rich. We had all 3 companies come in, all very qualified companies. There was one that we thought really fit well with our community, that everyone was on board with. So Brad will have legislation on there today to go with them. We did sell the old Buick LaCrosse, the 2006 Chevy Kodiak ambulance, and some other office furniture for about $21,000 on Gov Deals. The ambulance went for a little more than I thought it would, so I was happy with that. Thanks for everyone who came out to the Touch a Truck when we had it in the beginning of the month. It was a nice day. Everyone seemed to have a really good time. So I appreciate all the departments coming for that. The new ambulance that was supposed to be delivered at the last meeting got delivered. It's in service. It's been used several times. There's 7 new hires on the agenda for tonight. Northfield Park is subject to the Ohio Racing Commission laws, and there was a law that's been talked about being approved for some time of requiring all paramedic service up at the racetrack. Right now we have EMTs, which is a lower level of training. The state went with all paramedics, which is above and beyond what I think they may need, but that's what the law is now. With that in mind, I've been working hard to get extra paramedics to
fulfill our requirement up there. It starts August 1st. So the 7 people you see on the agenda tonight are directly related to that. The downside of the issue is I do have 3 or 4 employees who are only EMTs. I've offered assistance in becoming a firefighter or going through paramedic school. I've yet to hear from them. If after August 1st they don't go one way or another, they do know that their employment will probably come to an end because the position's been removed. So that part is unfortunate. I've worked with them. They're all aware of the situation. So far I've had no takers on that. And then the last thing is I'm going to be out of town from June 30th to July 14th. If you need to email me, send me a text message, I can get it. I'm going to be out west on vacation. Joe will be in charge while I'm gone. Question?
Does any of the 7, are those 3 in any of those 7?
Say that-
The 3 that are EMTs, are they any
No.
of these 7?
No,
No.
no, these are 7 new people. 2 of them are firefighter medics. The rest are just paramedics.
Chief Bus, is that's a statewide then? Is that all
Statewide,
all
yeah.
the tracks?
Thistledown will also be affected. Also in the legislation tonight, we're adjusting the pay ordinance for the paramedics, so they receive that shift incentive that I give on the weekends, and that was to directly be able to compete with the other agencies that are going to be trying to pull these people. Because
Right.
there's less and less
And
around.
we did renegotiate the contract
Yes.
with the
And that will
MGM
immediately go
earlier in
into
the
effect.
year, and we are getting additional money to cover the costs.
It's something we saw coming, and I actually petitioned the state against moving to 2 paramedics. That just delayed it a month. So here we are anyway. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Mr. Wojtusz and Mrs. Nowak, since you're, Gary is head of wages and working conditions, and Ms. Nowak, fire and safety, would you like to do those legislations now, or would you like to wait till the end of the meeting?
At your discretion, now it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor, if we have, what I think best to do is do the first 2 first, and then the rest after that. So if we have your permission, Mr. Council President, we'd like to consider Resolution 2019-43, an emergency resolution confirming the Mayor, Director of Public Safety's appointment of Sean Davis as a part-time firefighter paramedic. And 2019-44, an emergency resolution confirming the Mayor, Director of Public Safety's appointment of Joshua Waddell as a part-time firefighter paramedic together, if that's okay. Is that okay with you, Mr. Council President?
Yes, sir, Mr. Bryan.
Okay, is there a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Wojciech, seconded by Ms. Domsowski. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Is there a motion to pass?
Motion for passage.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wojciech, seconded by Ms. Nowak. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay. 2019-43 and 44 are adopted, and then the next set of resolutions are just paramedics. So 2019-46, an emergency resolution confirming the Mayor, Director of Public Safety's appointment of Peter Lewis as a part-time firefighter paramedic. 2019-47, an emergency resolution confirming the Mayor, Director of Public Safety's appointment of Patrick McPhillips as a part-time firefighter paramedic. 2019-48, an emergency resolution confirming the Mayor, Director of Public Safety's appointment of John Reed as a part-time firefighter paramedic. In 2019-49, an emergency resolution confirming the Mayor, Director of Public Safety's appointment of Judith Torres as a part-time firefighter paramedic.
I'd like to make a motion to skip to 3 readings.
Second.
Motion to suspend the 3 reading rule made by Mr. Wojciech, seconded by Ms. Nowak. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed?
Motion for passage.
Second.
Motion to pass by Mr. Wojciech, seconded by Ms. Nowak. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, the resolutions are adopted. And then we have 2019-50, an emergency resolution clarifying the application of the shift premium stipend paid to part-time members of the fire department for 2019. And again, as Chief Buss said, this is nothing new. This is just kind of clarifying. It said it, for firefighters who work on the weekends, and it just clarifying now that that applies to firefighters and paramedics, since we're putting on a number of people that are just medics and don't have a fire certificate, and it applies to hours worked or they're stationed at the racetrack, rather for race duty, ambulance duty, or the first aid station that we're now manning at the racetrack. So,
I'd like to make a motion to skip the 3 readings.
motion to suspend the 3 reading rule by
Second.
Mr. Voitis, seconded by Mr. Nowak, right? Okay, my ears are going. Ms. Nowak. I didn't hear which year it was coming from. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, is there a motion to
for
pass?
passage.
Second.
Motion to pass by Mr. Voitis, seconded by Ms. Domzalski. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? The resolution is passed. And that's it for the fire-related, well, except for the architect. We can do that with the legislation, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Mr. Walters, Service and Building Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The only thing I have to report is the Houghton project still running along on schedule. They are just past the service department, past Boardman there. Hopefully we can get the concrete down and onto the next phase of Houghton Road on schedule. So even with all the rain, they are still holding schedule pretty good, so that's good. But that's really all I have to report.
And ODOT's working on the West Route 8 catch basin.
The catch basin is under construction. Last I talked to them, which was yesterday, they hoped that by Friday it would be complete. If not, it'd be Monday.
And I did talk to the engineer a little bit regarding the traffic signal poles. He's thinking either end of August or mid September for those to come in. Okay, moving on to reports from municipal boards and commissions. Mr. Hips is not present. Does anyone on Planning Commission have anything? Hearing none, moving on. Recreation Board, I would like to meet tomorrow, the 27th at 6:30 here at Town Hall, just to go over a few things for movie night and to get things kind of going on our next project. So 6/27 at 6:30 here at Town Hall for Recreation Board. Moving on to the committees. Mr. Magistralia, Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are our regular scheduled finance meeting this evening. Everything was in order. Again, I thank Mrs. Ingracia for having everything prepared and making our job really easy. I also want to thank our committee, and most of the members were here today, so it was a very full meeting. And thank you very much. That's it, Mayor.
Roads and Public Works, Ms. Tomzalski.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Health and Welfare, Mr. Scher.
No report.
Wages and Working Conditions, Mr. Voitush.
No report, Mayor.
Fire and Safety, Mrs. Nowak.
No report this evening.
Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Hips is not present today. Does anyone have that on that committee have anything for us tonight?
Nothing.
Okay, moving on. Legislation. Brad?
Thank you, Mayor. The next piece of legislation is 2019-51, an emergency resolution authorizing the purchase of a 2019 Dodge Charger along with the necessary equipment to outfit the vehicle for police department use.
I'd like to suspend the 3 reading.
Second.
Motion to suspend the 3 reading rule by Ms. Nowak, seconded by Mr. Voitush. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed?
Motion to pass.
Motion to pass by Ms. Noack, seconded by Ms. Domzowski. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, the resolution passes. And next we have 2019-52, an emergency resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Baker Bednar Snyder and Associates, Inc. for architectural and project consulting and administrative services for the fire station addition and renovation project.
Can I have discussion?
Sure.
I would like Jason Bless just to explain to the audience why we're doing what we're doing, because I'm sure some of them are sitting out there and wondering what's going on.
Okay, so the fire department has changed quite a bit in the 20 years I've been here. Councilman Voitas was here for when we built the fire station we're in now, back in 2002, 2003 is when we moved in. At that point, we did not have full-time firefighters. We were staffed 8 to 5, and the building was built for operating regular business hours. As times changed, we've added vehicles. We are now full-time. We staff 3 people 24/7 at the fire station. Every race night, we have 3 additional people coming in. So we probably at times have between 6 and 9 people in the building, depending on what time of day it is. The building we designed back in 2003 did not have dormitories. It didn't have a sprinkler system in it. Didn't have the adequate living quarters. We're in need of a replacement fire truck, but we have no place to put a replacement fire truck. The bays are only 60 foot deep at this point. Any type of fire truck we get, we would be really limited to fit it in that bays. And there is discussion if down the road MGM does build a hotel, there's going to be a requirement. Even for a small ladder truck, we would have the room to park it. And those are going to run about $750,000. You can't be parking that outside. And the ambulances we park outside, our chase car we park outside, isn't readily available to respond in the wintertime due to the snow and ice. And we found an issue actually today with the batteries on our COT systems are overheating, sitting outside in the ambulances. As the ambulance gets hot, it causes them to fault and the batteries go dead. That's something we learned today, and I didn't even realize what happened out there. So we need to get the expensive equipment inside. Every architect that walked through our building and saw where our firefighters are sleeping in their living quarters all had the same reaction of this is completely inadequate. It's not something we would allow a business in our community to do, so we should be held to the same standard. Mr. Voitas mentioned earlier about sprinkler systems, and I looked into it earlier this year. It's expensive to retrofit it, and it is something we would include in the new building. We're also looking at including the tornado siren, which is from the 1950s on this building, having one that's a modern, up-to-date siren that is at the building versus driving out in a storm to activate when there's a tornado. And we did activate it.
It did work.
Yeah, it did go off, and that storm hit quick. So there's numerous features that weren't planned for, and we're trying to plan for in the future if there's more expansion, that the building's ready for that. So we got to the point where we met with the architects, we put it out there, we did a study to see what we needed. It gave us a ballpark figure. I'm hopeful with the architect we're choosing. We'll get everything we need at a good price, and it'll serve the community long after we're gone. So hopefully that's a quick summary of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, Mayor, this firm is a little smaller firm than the 2 other firms. They seem to be very excited about working with us on the project. I think it'll be a little more economical going with them, and they certainly did their homework and we're ready to go. And as far as the standard AIA architect contract, Mr. Wasowski and I requested a lot of changes that fit our situation and project to try to keep the project under control and make sure we weren't going to be subject to additional fees, and they were very accommodating. I've spent a few hours talking to the principal this week about the contract and getting the changes made, and they've been accommodating and working with our schedule quickly, knowing that we wanted to get this done tonight. So it was a quick turnaround time, and they've been great to work with so far. So is
I'd like to make a motion to skip the 3 readings on this.
motion by Mr. Voitish to suspend the
Second.
3 reading rules, seconded by Mr. Magistrelli. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed?
Motion for passage.
Motion to pass by Mr. Voitish. Is there
Second.
seconded by Ms. Nowak. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay. Next is 2019-53, an emergency resolution authorizing the mayor to contract for the village's insurance policies with Selective, Hanover, Cincinnati, and Hudson insurance companies through Wickert Insurance Agency.
I'd like to suspend the 3 reading rule.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Voitish to suspend the 3 reading rule. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed?
Move for passage.
Second.
Motion to pass by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Voitish. Any discussion? All in favor of passage?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, the resolution is adopted. And last, we have 2019-54, an emergency resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Supercrete Construction Company LLC to replace the concrete pad for the service department salt bin on first reading. And the amount of that bid is $29,160.
I'd like to suspend that 3 reading rule.
Second.
Motion to suspend the 3 reading rule by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Voitish. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed?
Move for passage.
Second.
Motion to pass by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Voitish. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of passage?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay. The resolution's adopted, and that's it for the legislation, Mayor.
At this time, is there any old business, new business, or announcements from council?
Yes, Mayor. When we had our work session, there was something that I wanted to discuss for the banners, and I know that we didn't have enough time. When is the sewer bill going out again?
In the next couple weeks.
Okay, the one after that.
Beginning of October.
No, the reason why is because I'd like to get the council's input on it, because I would like to get this put in the sewer bills letter, so that this could be possibly, if there is an agreement, that this could be a possible gift that they could give to a veteran, so that we could have this for Memorial Day next year. And so the next work session, I would like to definitely make sure that it is not passed.
What Mrs. Nowak is referring to is, I don't know if you've ever been down to Independence where they have the Hometown Hero banners. We would like to do that. So,
Yes, what it is, if you go down Valley View Road, going toward Independence, it is very moving. They have these 30, what's the size of our, whatever our banners are out here, is the size going down there, and it's a picture of your veteran, the years that they served, and what branch they were in. And I get goosebumps every time I go down the road, and I would like to see that on
it is very
Northfield Road.
moving. Been there.
So I'm thinking that if we could get passage, that we would take care of all the brackets for the posts, and that you could go ahead and purchase the banner, so that when Memorial Day comes up until the 4th of July, going down Northfield Road, on both sides of that banner would be a picture of your veteran, time of service, and what branch they were in. That's what I'm trying to propose for the village.
Wonderful idea, Ms. Nowak. Anything else?
I do, yes. This is
Yes,
real
Mr.
important.
Chair.
On Summit Avenue, I sent pictures to a couple of the council people so they could look at it, because they know about trucks. There's one that does. But anyway, we built the road, Summit Avenue, a few years back, and I know we put a ditch down the middle of that street that was 20 to 25 foot deep, and I'm not real sure what they backfilled it with, but continuously, and today especially, I was only on my job site for 30 minutes, and there were 10 trucks, 10 big trucks, not small trucks. I'm talking 10 tons, at least 10 tons, because I know my 5-ton was not even half the size of these trucks. And they just boom, boom, boom. It's like Grand Central Station down Summit Avenue. And I don't know if they have the authority to go down Summit Avenue. It's residential. I don't know if we benefit from them going down Summit Avenue. But and I don't know, and this is what I wanted to talk to, and I think maybe you, Mayor, can talk to Mr. Wysocki about it. But I'm not even sure if that road could support trucks of that size going down Summit Avenue that often. So I want to get to the bottom of that. And I'm not the only one here. I'm not just a council person talking. My 3 neighbors, hold on, excuse me.
Yeah.
The 3 neighbors across the street have issues with it. A person I went to high school with who's down the street and his neighbor across the street all approached me with the giant trucks going down Summit Avenue, and we spent the money for Summit Avenue. I don't believe the Conrail trucks did spend anything on. I don't. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe they spent any money on that road.
I think there's a 5-ton limit on that road. I'm not positive, but I will double check with the.
That one of the trucks that I sent a picture. That's
Yeah.
a 10-ton truck.
Okay.
By the way, guys.
Yeah, and I believe that's correct, Mayor, with the limit. The problem is, the limits don't apply to vehicles that are accessing property on the street. The driveway is in the village, it butts into the village, even though their property isn't necessarily, where they're going is in the village. And there are a lot of federal regulations that are catered to railroads about them having access to their property at any point. So we can look into it. Rich and I will look into it, understand the issue with the wear and tear on the road. And I suspect we can't legally prohibit them from going down there. That doesn't mean we can't ask, but.
We didn't build that road to support those trucks. I don't believe. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but
We didn't build it for those trucks.
Right.
The road wasn't actually rebuilt. We did put the sewer line down the middle. The deepest point was 22 feet, but it was brought up then when we did resurface that road after the construction was done about the railroad. There was residents that were unhappy about it, and the engineer did explain. We did look into, and exactly what our law director just stated. You can't prohibit the railroad from accessing their property and using that entrance even into a residential area. And we threw it every which way you could. I've actually expressed my concern over the years over those heavy trucks coming through, not just Summit, Elm. They do now try to use less. It used to be they would sometimes come up to Magnolia. They would come other routes, if they were going to the Sunoco station sometimes, things like that. But with their federal regulations and accessing their property, we don't have much of a leg to stand on to stop them.
But we're not trying to limit access because they have off of ledge, and we have the 5-ton limit on ledge.
They
can
also have
still
another
access
access
that property.
down towards Walton Hills off that road.
Right,
So
right.
as
I
we
mean, we're
brought
just
up
trying to
then,
get smaller vehicles.
agree.
Right,
through
no,
there.
I understand what you're saying. I don't think we're allowed to dictate to a railroad.
well, that's okay. But why don't
where they
we
can come
make
on.
Summit Avenue a little bit tighter, more put some heavier rocks down below and resurface it so they could just use it as their regular cut through. Because actually you could see the road is not liking big heavy vehicles going down there. It's actually starting to crack.
I'm sure.
Well, at that
Doesn't-
point, as the road fails, I mean, at that point, that's when you'd try to rebuild the road to handle that, and then you're then probably going to give them the thought that I don't. I mean, there's days I see what you're saying, but I mean, to tear the road up now to try to build it for that, I mean, the road is still together. It's not busted up at this point, and I think if we get to that point, we would maybe try to build it for that. It wasn't rebuilt though, Councilman, at that point. It was resurfaced. And the only reason we resurfaced it, if you remember, they were supposed to cut that trench down the middle, and it was caving, and it was breaking away at the top, so we ended up having to add that additional. It wasn't actually budgeted for at the beginning. So they are using their crane trucks is what mostly comes through there. And we've monitored it for a while back then. I think it was in 2014 when that went down. And I myself requested we look into that. The road, I mean, that road is, for as much as that is happening, the road is, you wouldn't believe how much asphalt's actually in that road. But at that point, to build for what you're talking about another concrete road with a minimum of 9 inches of concrete. And with the length of that road, you're talking of well over $1 million. And
Well, most of the time they're straddling the ditch when they're going down the middle.
well, I understand, but so at this point, my thing would be is, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you, but to talk about rebuilding the road today, when we have tons of roads that we still need to rebuild and things like this, I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we need to and address that issue at that point. We can look more into, obviously, but the railroad is entity that does have a little bit of power behind it. So,
Brad, do we not have any kind of a law ordinance for the weight limit that can go down a residential streets that we could put a sign? So that, you know, they would be going against that, and then they could be fined or ticketed for it if it's over that weight limit. We could at least have that at the top of the road.
We do have an ordinance, but it doesn't apply to vehicles that are traveling to access somewhere on that road.
They don't access
or in the
anything on
village.
Summit.
Well, I mean, not on Summit, but, you know, the driveway is off of a village road. So it's just like if you have a huge semi making a delivery to your house, like a moving truck, you know, it's over the limit when it comes down your street. Well, maybe not your street, but, well, actually, I mean, Ledge has a limit.
I've had heavy trucks come down there to service what I was doing, right?
Right. So they're allowed to go where they need to go, to any driveway in the village. You know, the limits don't apply. I mean, we want them to use common sense and things like that. When we have those giant overweight transformers come from the railroad through town, we make them post a bond and camera to make sure they don't do any damage. But that's a special situation with those weights. I don't know what they are, but they're well in excess of any type of truck. So we do have the law. It doesn't apply to them. So this is the problem. So we can't ticket them.
Anything else, Mr. Chair?
How are we doing on the flowers for by the plaza and the entranceway, and also the?
I did look into that, and I have $2,700 for the year. We're going to do fall stuff and Christmas stuff this year, and that eats up the entire budget.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
To hear an adjournment?
I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Magistrelli to adjourn. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Adjourned at 8:08 p.m.